the forgetting. They said the past was a dream. That Earth had always belonged to the Valari. Ilir didn't question it, at least not out loud. His job was simple: inspect neural conduit lines under Sector 9. Don't look up. Don't talk too much. Don't think unless the implants tell you to. But lately, the dreams were coming more often. Last night, it was fire. Not destruction, but warmth. Campfires, laughter, a child's hand in his. A woman's voice, calling a name he didn't recognize. The colors were so vivid. Blue sky, green grass, human voices full of something he couldn't name. Was that joy? He shook it off. Dreams were glitches. Side effects of a system update or missed neural sync. That's what the monitors said. Still, something inside him itched. A feeling he didn't have a word for. He moved through the early morning fog of Sector 9. Drones hovered above the mag trams, scanning each ID tag. The city thrummed in quiet submission. No birds, no music, no one speaking above a whisper. The Valari liked order, and they'd spent centuries making sure Earth had nothing else. The lift doors hissed open to the maintenance tunnel. Ilir stepped inside, sensors brushing over his skin, reading his neural implant. A soft chime, clear, compliant. He exhaled. Back again, spark plug. A voice echoed softly behind him. Ilir turned. Kayla. She wore her tools like armor and her sarcasm like a shield. She worked tech repair on the outer levels, supposedly, but she always seemed to be where the rules said she shouldn't. Hey, he said, wary. You're not assigned down here. Neither are your thoughts, she said with a wink. Ilir stiffened. You shouldn't say things like that. Why not? Afraid the walls will tattle. She gestured to the conduit and crouched beside him, popping open a panel. Her fingers moved like she was rewiring the universe. Ever wonder what's really running through these cables? What they're hiding in plain sight? Ilir didn't respond, but the itch inside him grew louder. As they worked, a flicker sparked in his implant. Pain lanced through his skull, sudden and sharp. He gasped, stumbling back, hand to his head. Ilir. Kayla grabbed his shoulder. The tunnel was gone. For a second, no, less than that, he saw people. Not workers. People. Faces full of life. A sky stretching endlessly. A flag waving in the wind, red, white, blue. A word rose in his throat. Freedom. Then darkness. The neural sync re-engaged. The world snapped back to gray. He blinked, heart pounding. You saw something? Kayla whispered. I know. It was nothing. Just a glitch. No, she said, eyes narrowing. That wasn't a glitch. That was a memory. He pulled away from her. That's impossible. We didn't have it before. Kayla didn't argue. She just looked at him, quiet and knowing. I used to think the same thing, she said softly. But what if they didn't just conquer us? What if they erased us? A drone buzzed nearby. She went quiet. When it passed, she leaned closer. There's a place. Not far. Off-grid. No sync signal. You want to know what you saw? What you felt? Come with me after shift. You'll see I'm not the only one. Ilir hesitated. Curiosity bloomed, tangled with fear. If the Valari find out. They won't, Kayla said. Unless you tell them. She handed him a tool and walked away, casual as ever. But her voice had changed. More urgent now, less teasing. Alone again, Ilir stared at the conduit. The dream. The flag. The word he couldn't shake. Freedom. He finished the repairs mechanically, hands working while his mind churned. By the end of shift, he wasn't sure if he'd imagine it all. But when the city lights dimmed to their regulated evening glow, he found himself walking. Not home, not to sync recharge, but to the edge of the city, where signal faded and silence meant danger. Kayla was waiting in the shadows. You're late, she whispered but smiled. You ready? No, Ilir admitted. She grinned. Good. That means you're still human. They disappeared into the dark, leaving behind the perfect quiet of Valari rule. And somewhere deep inside Ilir, something old stirred, a flicker, a whisper, a memory. The sparks remember. The city ended in silence. Beyond the last drone post, the pavement cracked and weeds dared to grow through the concrete. It was a place untouched by maintenance, unlit by the Valari's cold blue glow. Kayla moved quickly, knowing the path by memory. Ilya followed, heartbeat pounding louder than his footsteps. He had never been this far from the sync zones. Never been off the grid. "What is this place?" he whispered. Kayla glanced back. A memory, waiting to be reconnected. They passed ruins, buildings half swallowed by vines, broken signs in a language he recognized, but had never been taught. Library, civic center, museum. Each word stirred a faint unease, like finding your name on a stranger's grave. Finally, they reached a metal hatch hidden beneath a rusted sculpture. Kayla tapped out a code. It opened with a hiss. Inside, warm light. Human light. Yellow, flickering, alive. Ilya blinked. Voices echoed below. Laughter. Real laughter. The tunnel sloped down into a chamber layered in tech, both ancient and new. Screens, wires, handwritten maps. And people. Not hundreds. Maybe 20. Some wore scavenged uniforms, others rags, but all had one thing Ilya hadn't seen in years: fire in their eyes. A tall man stood in the center. Broad shoulders, silver-streaked hair, a scar that traced from cheek to chin. Kayla nodded toward him. "That's Rhett. He leads the cell." Before Ilya could reply, Rhett spoke. "You're the conduit worker," he said, voice deep but calm. "The one who saw the truth." Ilya stiffened. "How do you know that?" "Because we all saw it once, before they wiped us. You're just starting to wake up." Rhett stepped closer. "You remember anything else?" "Bits," Ilya said quietly. "Dreams. A flag. A word. Freedom." Rhett nodded. "Then it's working." Kayla spoke up. His implant glitched. "Like mine did. Like Dina's." At the name, a woman stepped forward from a cluster of screens. She was older than the others, her hair braided back, her hands stained with ink and oil. "I'm Dina," she said. "Historian. I collect what they erased." She motioned to a corner where shelves were stacked with paper. Books, files, photographs, pages stitched together by hand. "Books," Ilya said, stunned. "Before the Volari, we recorded everything. Ideas, stories, truth. They couldn't destroy it all. Some of it survived. So did we." She handed him a faded image. A group of people standing together, fists raised, faces defiant. "That's us." Or it was. Resistance. Rebellion. Humanity. Ilya stared at the photo. Something inside him cracked open. These faces, he didn't know them, but he felt them. "Why me?" he asked. "Why now?" "The implants degrade," Dina said. "Over time, glitches form. Some people feel it, little flashes of who we were. Most dismiss it, but not everyone." Rhett stepped in again. "We're planning a strike. A memory tower. They use it to reinforce suppression waves. If we take it down, more people wake up," Kayla finished. "Like you did." "It's dangerous," Rhett warned. "They'll come down hard. But we've waited too long. We can't stay underground forever." Ilya looked at the room, at people building something in the dark, not just surviving, but remembering. He thought of the city above, gray and hollow. Thought of that word again. "Freedom. I'm in," he said, surprising even himself. Kayla smiled. Rhett nodded once. Dina placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you're not just remembering the past, Ilya. You're becoming part of the future." The rest of the night blurred. Plans drawn on paper and projected on walls. Maps of security routes, schematics of the tower. Kayla showed him how she hacked surveillance loops, how to trace signal voids. Ilya learned fast. Maybe too fast. It was like his hands already knew. Before dawn, he stepped away, needing air. He climbed to the surface alone. The stars above were still visible, untouched by the Volari's control. He stood in the silence, breathing deeply, letting the cold sting his lungs. And then he whispered the word again. Freedom. It didn't feel like a memory anymore. It felt like a promise. The tower cracks. The tower loomed like a needle through the heart of the city, tall, smooth, pulsing with violet light. It hummed with quiet menace, invisible waves rippling out every second, keeping thoughts dulled and memories buried. To most, it was just part of the skyline. To Ilya now, it was a cage. They moved at night. The plan had taken a week to finalize. Rhett's team gathered uniforms, tools, forged credentials. Kayla had mapped every maintenance shaft and blind spot in the tower's perimeter. Dina decoded part of the alien system, to locate the tower's core memory transmitter. They didn't have weapons. Not really. Their weapons were knowledge, speed, and hope. Ilir stood in the disguise of a tower technician, nerves tight under his skin. The closer he got, the more his implant throbbed, as if resisting the clarity he'd found. Kayla's voice crackled in his ear. "You're inside range. Watch for pulse spikes. They'll feel like migraines. If it gets bad, bite your tongue. Helps ground your focus." "That's not comforting," he muttered. "Wasn't trying to be. Move." He passed security. Their stolen codes worked. The Volari barely looked at humans unless they glitched. Most people avoided eye contact anyway. No one wanted to be noticed. The lobby was glass and steel, quiet and gleaming. Other workers moved like ghosts, following preset routes with blank stares. No one spoke. He slipped into the maintenance elevator, keyed the override Kayla had built, and descended. Level -4. Core access. The doors opened into shadows and noise. Energy thrummed through the walls like a heartbeat. The air was thick with heat and memory. Kayla met him there, already working at a panel. Her eyes flicked up. "About time. I got stopped by a Volari," Ilir said. She froze. "What happened?" I stared at the floor. It lost interest. Kayla exhaled. "You're learning." Behind her, Dina stood at a massive console, alien in shape, curved like bone, symbols glowing faintly. She didn't look up as she spoke. "We have 30 minutes. Maybe less." Ilir approached. This powers the suppression wave." Dina nodded. "It generates the memory field. Keeps most humans compliant. Kills rebellious thought in the cradle. And if we shut it down, thousands will wake up at once. Maybe more." Ilir stared at the console. "Will they know what's happening?" "No," Dina said, "but they'll feel it, like the first breath after drowning." Rhett's voice came through the comms. "Volari response team just activated. Kayla, you've got 10 minutes to loop the security cams, or we'll have guests." Kayla's hands flew across her tablet. "I'm trying, but their system's fighting back." A sudden pulse hit Ilir's implant, sharp and searing. He staggered. "Signal spike." Kayla yelled. "They're onto us." Dina slammed a power unit into the base of the console. "No more time. We trigger now or never." Rhett's voice crackled. "Do it." Kayla handed Ilir a small device, cylindrical, pulsing. "Override disruptor. Plant it on the core and hold it there. Once it sinks, it'll burn the suppression field." He hesitated. "What happens to us?" Dina looked at him. "We might forget again. Or worse. But they'll remember." Ilir took the device. His fingers trembled. He crossed to the central column. It pulsed with alien light, whispering nonsense into his skull. He pressed the disruptor to the base. The light flared. The hum shattered. A wave of silence exploded outward. Above them, the city convulsed. Across the skyline, people froze mid-step. Workers dropped tools. Children cried. Somewhere, someone screamed. Ilir collapsed to his knees, head splitting open with memory. Not just his. Everyone's. Flashes poured through him. Wars and music, art and language. Names he never knew but suddenly missed. The taste of rain. The roar of crowds. The quiet of a library. His own mother's face. Then the silence returned. And he was crying. Kayla pulled him up. Her eyes were red too. Dina stood at the console, stunned. It worked. By all the stars, it worked. Then sirens. A klaxon blared through the tower. The Volari were coming. Rhett's voice returned. "Extraction point Alpha. Get out now." They ran. Ilir didn't remember half the escape. Just pain, noise, running through corridors as blue light chased them. Dina lagged behind, clutching a data drive like it was holy. They burst from a maintenance hatch into the city's industrial fringe. Rhett's team pulled them into a waiting truck, tires screaming as they vanished into the maze of underlevels. Only when they reached the safe house did Ilir realize what had changed. The city sounded different. People were shouting, asking questions, looking around like they were seeing for the first time. A man stood in the street, staring at the tower. "I remember my sister, my dog, my name." The virus of memory was spreading. Ilir looked to the others. "We just cracked the first wall," Rhett said quietly. "And the Volari?" Kayla asked. "They'll hit back. Hard." But no one looked afraid. Ilir stepped outside. The air felt sharper, the sky wider. For the first time in generations, Earth was thinking again. To be human again. The city had changed. It was in the way people looked at each other, in the questions whispered instead of orders obeyed, in the sudden stillness of workers pausing mid-routine to think, to wonder. In the fear, the Volari no longer hid behind masks of indifference. The memory tower was dead, the suppression field broken, and the world had started to remember. But the price had just begun. The Volari struck the next night. Silent ships screamed through the clouds. Drones swept the streets. Anyone who hesitated, questioned, or defied was marked. Whole sectors were locked down, lights turned cold and blue. Propaganda blared from speakers that had once been mute. Return to compliance. Harmony is survival. Memory is error. Ilir stood on the rooftop of the safe house, eyes fixed on the glowing skyline. The tower no longer pulsed, but fear crackled through the air like static. Below, others prepared, gathering supplies, building makeshift transmitters, tending wounds. He felt the pressure return, the threat of forgetting. They're trying to rebuild it, Kayla said beside him. She looked tired, smudged with ash and data grease, but her eyes still burned. They won't give up, Ilir said. Neither will we. Dina stepped onto the roof, holding the data drive like a newborn. They can rebuild the tech, but not what's already spread. Memories are viral now. Ilir turned. You saved all of it. Not everything, but enough. History, languages, music, truth. She smiled. They erased so much, but they underestimated how badly humans want to remember. Rhett joined them last, limping slightly from the escape. He looked out over the city. They'll make examples. Try to divide us again. Fear is still their strongest weapon. But it's weaker now, Ilir said. Because people are thinking. Because we remembered we were more than servants. A beat of silence passed between them. Then we take it further, Kayla said. We amplify the drive. We build our own tower. Ilir looked at her. A broadcast? He asked. She nodded. If we can send memory instead of suppress it, images, voices, truth, we wake up the world. Rhett considered it. We'd have to reach beyond this sector, past the Volari's net. I can do it, Kayla said. I just need the old comm satellites. Dina smiled. They're rusted, buried, but not dead, like us. They spent the next 3 days moving like ghosts, repairing equipment, forging new maps, sending scouts. People came to them now, curious, hesitant, whispering stories that didn't fit the official records. A man who remembered painting. A woman who recalled protest songs. Children who dreamed in colors they'd never been taught. The Volari couldn't silence it all. Ilir worked without stopping. Every wire he soldered, every terminal he fixed felt like reclaiming something stolen. His hands remembered more than his mind did. And in his chest, a strange sensation bloomed. Not fear, not grief, pride. On the 5th night, they stood before the reborn broadcast unit. It was patched together from old Earth tech, alien scraps, and raw defiance. Dina loaded the first signal, a wave of human history encoded in flashes of memory. Kayla stood by the transmitter, fingers ready. Rhett placed a hand on Ilir's shoulder. You started this. You finish it. Ilir nodded. He stepped forward, heart hammering. He pressed the button. The transmitter thrummed. Light pulsed outward. Above, old satellites flickered. Signals burst across the city, beyond its borders, reaching other sectors, other resistance pockets. People looked up, paused, and remembered. Music filled the air, real music, unfiltered and wild. A child's laughter, a speech once given before war, a poem, a scream, 1,000 memories reawakened. The Volari scrambled. Drones swarmed, but it was too late. Humanity was no longer quiet. They came in waves, people from other sectors, carrying books, recordings, fragments of what had been lost. They brought language, art, protest, love, and anger. Resistance was no longer hidden. It was alive. Weeks passed. The city still bore scars, but it also bloomed. Murals appeared on walls. Songs were sung aloud in public. Children learned names of ancestors. The Volari remained, but no longer unchallenged. They had ruled with forgetfulness. But humans remembered now. One evening, Ilir sat in the rebuilt square where statues had once been torn down. A child approached him, holding an old Earth book. "Is it true?" she asked. "That we used to fly? That we went to the stars?" He smiled. "Yes, and we will again. Even with the Volari?" He looked up at the sky, where satellites now danced with memory instead of silence. Especially with the Volari. Kayla sat beside him. "What now?" Ilir watched as people gathered, reading, talking, dreaming. "Now," he said, "we live like we remember who we are." And for the first time in generations, being human wasn't just an echo. It was a revolution.